Hi, my name is Hannah and welcome back to one of my book wrap-ups. I'm going to talk about the last few books that I have read this month in July, so let's just jump into that. Okay, so I read the book Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead, and I was kind of excited about this because I'd read Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead and really enjoyed it, so I was excited to jump into this. And this is following Ray Carney, and he isn't really doing anything super against the law all the time. He just sometimes will sell goods in his store that maybe have questionable origins, but as time goes on, he kind of gets more and more involved in the criminal aspect in his town, and especially because of the influence of his cousin. And this kind of follows that in his life, and I don't know how I feel about this one. It has some interesting things. It's well written, well put together, but I just never quite got a so what on it. I just don't know if I really cared a ton about the main character. I think the reason is that there were high stakes. Like, okay, if he gets caught, he could lose his family and his life and go to jail. That's kind of one of the highest stakes you can give a character, like with their problems. But I just, I never really felt that connection that he had with his family and his wife, to the point where I felt like it would be a huge hardship should he lose that. And so, it was an interesting look at how your life can be touched by crime, and a community can have crime throughout it. There was some stuff in that, but I just never quite got the point of this one. So I kind of give it 3 stars. Well done, but also why? So this next recommendation I got from Debra at Bookin' with Debra, so I will make sure to link her channel down below, and I loved this one. So this was The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, and I was surprised how much I really enjoyed this book. So this is following 3 sisters that have kind of been torn apart, and they come back together and start bringing witching back into this new Salem society in the late 1800s. And they it's going on at the same time as the suffrage movement and using magic. It was really compelling, and I also really liked the whole idea of using magic as almost a metaphor for women's power that is taken away, and fighting back and being able to be a woman how you want to be a woman. And I thought it was really, I found it compelling and fun, and it's got a lot of those fantasy elements that make it fun, but it also felt very rooted in real life. I enjoyed it, and I really felt like I connected with the sisters and their relationship with each other as sisters. I really thought that was well done. I gave this one 5 stars. I just really liked it. It has some cute romance, some queer romance. It has a lot of talk about women's rights, and talk about race relations in the US and historical problems that women have faced. And there's a lot that goes into it. You don't have to look deeply into it if you don't want to. It also would just be a fun fantasy read. I just really enjoyed that there was a lot of depth that really grounded this book as well. So I enjoyed this one completely, and I do recommend it. So after hearing about this book from Shelly Swearingen, I had to put it on my list. So I read the book The Sinner and the Saint, Dostoevsky and the Gentleman Murderer Who Inspired a Masterpiece by Kevin Birmingham. And I also really loved this book. This was excellent, very interesting. This is following the story of Dostoevsky's life. It's kind of a good biography of his life and the process that he went through to write Crime and Punishment. It also gives a lot of background on some of the high-profile murders that had been committed that had similarities to the murder that takes place in Crime and Punishment, as well as the political situation. And it really helped me appreciate the book Crime and Punishment more. I actually went and I ended up reading half of Crime and Punishment while I was reading this, just because I wanted to kind of be more immersed in this world. I thought it was super interesting. I think that people should not teach Crime and Punishment in schools anymore, and instead just assign read Crime and Punishment, then read this book, and you'll get a way more in-depth look at the meaning behind Crime and Punishment than you would talking about it in an English class. I did read this in my high school. I did read Crime and Punishment in my high school English class, and I remember a lot of discussions about different symbolism and different meanings, but like we talked a lot about nihilism and all sorts of things. But I feel like reading this book, I understood it so much more. I mean, I'm also an adult and not a high school child, but I did understand this way more, just some of the background, those political movements and philosophical movements, and how Crime and Punishment was a reaction to a lot of those. And even just, I find it amazing that the book was published with how much things were censored during this time. So super interesting. I don't recommend you read it if you haven't read Crime and Punishment or aren't interested in that kind of thing, but I think that if you liked Crime and Punishment, this will be a 5-star for you. So the next book I got the recommendation from its.erinn, so I will link her channel down below, and it is The Mountains Sing, and this was also excellent. I have read so many good books the past little bit. Like, this was 5-star also. This is one of those sweeping family drama type books, and it is taking place, we have the Vietnam War, kind of our main storyline, with flashbacks to back earlier in 1920 during the land reforms, and just, it's, you know, going through a lot of the history of Vietnam, the war, and just the family drama going through. I mean, it's a sweeping family drama, multiple perspectives, multiple years, but where it really succeeds is just the beauty of the language and just that beautiful worldview of just love and kindness through tragedy and difficulty. So I do highly recommend this one. This was really beautiful. Some parts were difficult to read. I mean, it's about war and loss and tragedy. I mean, it's awful. There's a lot of murder and torture and awful descriptions in here, but that isn't the focus of the book. It doesn't linger there. It talks about healing and recovery, where I feel like a lot of these books could get stuck in the tragedy of it all, and this ended up being just really pretty. And so highly recommend. Like, it talks a lot about tragedy, but I felt so uplifted by the end, and that is beautiful. Like, if you can read a novel that talks about these difficult things, teaches you, it is also historical fiction. I learned a lot about the time period and some of the things that happened, but also just can help you feel uplifted and hopeful, and I thought this was lovely. So highly recommend. Well, 3 of my 4 recent reads being 5-star books is unheard of and just excellent. I had a lot of fun. So if you have any thoughts on these books, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll be back soon with some more reading wrap-ups, but I don't know about you, but is it hard to keep a normal routine in the summer? I have not been as consistent with my reading, but I have read some really good ones and some long books, so I am excited to talk more about that, and I will see you all on the next one.